This meeting has been distributed for review. I hope you all have the opportunity to do so. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes? Mr. Carty, second. Mrs. Gray. Roll call on the motion to accept the minutes.
Tatman.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Neal.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Lorena.
Yes.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
Carty.
Yes.
Alrighty, roll call. That's our doorbell. Roll call, reports of the committees, please. Mrs. Patrick.
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss legal litigation.
Okay, we have a motion to go into executive session, seconded by Dustin Pohl. Roll call on the motion to go into executive session.
Tatman.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Neal.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Lorena.
Yes.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
Carty.
Yes.
We will retire for executive session. Do I have a motion to come out of executive session by Mrs. Patrick, seconded by Mr. Clay. Roll call on the motion to come out of executive session.
Tatman.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Neal.
Here.
Gray.
Yes. Yes.
Lorena.
Yes.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
Carty.
Yes.
There's no water
Yes, Mr. Florina.
I have a motion for executive session.
I have a motion for executive session.
Wait, hold on. It's, purpose. For the purpose is, of a public employee, no matter the employment.
Okay. I have a motion for executive session, seconded by Mrs. Gray. Roll call on the motion for executive session.
Tatman.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Neal.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Lorena.
Yes.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
Carty.
Yeah.
Everybody, chambers, I have a motion to come back out of executive session. From Mrs. Patrick, seconded by Mrs. Clay. Gray? Gray? Swing right off. Okay. Two left. Roll call on the motion to come out of executive session.
Tatman.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Neal.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Lorena.
Yes.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
Carty.
Yes.
We're out of executive session. And at this time, it brings us to reports of committees. Mrs. Patrick.
Thank you. Utilities Committee has the one and only item on the agenda, and at this point, I would like to make a motion not to read.
I have a motion not to read item 1 on the agenda tonight, seconded by Mr. Carty. Roll call on the motion not to read.
Tatman.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Neal.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Lorena.
Yes.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
Carty.
Yes.
And the motion will not be read this evening.
I will be holding a Utilities Committee meeting on this subject, and I think it's going to be on Thursday, along with the special session that the mayor was going to call. So he will give us the time, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Patrick. Mrs. Gray.
Thank you, President Arnold. The Human Resources Committee has one item that I will request at this time to waive the 3-day receipt rule. You have it in front of you. It is an ordinance establishing rates of pay and other economic benefits for classified, non-classified, and management level employees of the city of Chillicothe, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. I request again at this time a motion to waive the 3-day receipt rule.
I have a motion to waive the 3-day receipt rule from Mrs. Gray, seconded by Mr. Florina. Roll call on the motion to waive the 3-day receipt rule.
Tatman.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Neal.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Lorena.
Yes.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
Carty.
Yes.
And that motion has passed.
Thank you, President Arnold. At this time, I'm going to defer to Mayor Feeney to give us a little bit of background and steps going forward.
Do you want me to report now or during my report?
It's up to you, Mayor.
Yeah, that's fine. So I think we had a good committee meeting on this ordinance last week sometime. It is essentially the common non-bargaining ordinance, which follows traditionally the resolution of AFSCME contract negotiations. The most notable areas you'll see are that we've gone from the 5 steps, it used to be A through E, and then we've added 3 pre-steps, which essentially have lowered the entry rate of pay. That's the main difference on the non-classified and elected officials, personnel positions. Then on the second page, we had a good conversation on appointed department heads and my request for a range of pay. Essentially what I'm asking for there is the ability to hire somebody and employ them commensurate with their experience, as opposed to what we've had in the past, which is a static salary rate. Coupled with that, the department heads are, the proposal is for them to no longer have pension pickup. Those 7 positions are the last positions in the city with pension pickup, which essentially means the city picks up 5% of the employee's portion of PERS. And so what would happen, and what happened with all the other employees in the city last year, was that it was just flopped. And so that it's not a pay raise, but the salary rate went up 5%, and the city's contribution to the pension went down 5%. What it actually ends up being is a take-home decrease for those positions because their taxable income has gone up. But the main thing that looks different anyway is the request to have a range of pay. I believe that those were the 2 significant changes. While we're on the topic, I think both the law director and I know that Teresa were out, I think all of last week, so I wasn't even expecting to be talking about this tonight, so thanks on this and the other for the law director getting this turned around so fast. But those are sort of the main things that we're going with. I spoke with Councilwoman Patrick tonight, and so the ordinance that we're operating off of expired December 31st. I'd love to pass this tonight, but I'd also like to have the opportunity for those who didn't attend the committee meeting to ask questions, listen to constituents. I think Mr. Clay had some questions about the way, essentially what the current pay structure of department heads would look like compared to what their potential changes would be. In the committee assignment, I noted that the potential increase across all funds was approximately $50,000 in the first year. That includes all of the increases built in for the 2% increase that would go to the non-appointed positions, in addition to the range of increases that are potential for where I'd hire some people in. And some of those positions, actually, I decreased the potential rate, and most of the range was increased. I won't ask for 3 read rules to be waived tonight, but I think I will call a special meeting for Thursday if we can get a quorum. We can do the discussion on the Councilwoman Patrick's ordinance and hopefully get questions answered between now and then. I'm happy to answer any now. I think some numbers probably for Mr. Clay would be helpful. But we got into some of the details about how we're shifting departments around, that kind of thing. That the overall cost is not necessarily increasing, but my goal is to be able to hold these department heads accountable and say, I can give you a raise, but I want to see how much you can save. That long and short of it. So, does that answer sort of your question or request? Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm happy if anybody has questions now to answer them more during my report.
If, again, you want to have further time to be able to digest this, and we will have the special meeting on Thursday. And I will go for the first read this evening.
That's fine by me.
That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Any other reports, Mr. Kroll?
Yes, the Finance Committee has an item that I would like to make a motion to waive the 3-day receipt rule for. This is an ordinance appropriating $1,418,523.57 for the purpose of continuing and handling of brought forward purchase orders from the year 2015 and other brought forward amounts to be put on the books of the city of Chillicothe and for the year ending December 31st of 2016.
I have a motion to waive the 3-day receipt rule in this ordinance. Second, Mrs. Patrick. Roll call on the motion to waive the 3-day receipt rule.
Tatman,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes. Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Florina,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Clay,
Yes.
Partee.
Yes.
That motion is passed. We have waived the 3-day receipt rule.
And at the appropriate time, I will ask that we waive the 3-day, or the 3-read rule so that we can get these monies to work. That completes my report.
Mr. Kroll, any other committee reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to reports of officials. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to welcome Officer Tazak back there, joining us tonight. We talked at the last meeting, one, about my efforts to sort of engage our employees in our council meetings and also safety. I had the opportunity to go on a ride-along with Officer Tazak, and we are very fortunate in this city to have somebody of her caliber protecting us, so thank you for coming tonight. And we'll plan on having officers at meetings ongoing. I would also like to, speaking of ride-alongs, thank the service department for all the work that they did this past weekend. I had the opportunity Friday night to go on a ride-along. It was a little different than my ride-along with Tazak, but entertaining nonetheless, with one of our snowplow drivers, and just sort of experience what they go through in a night, and it was a good experience. That same driver actually was on ABC 6, I think, and I thought he did a
Joe King,
joking, yeah, fantastic job of
he did a good job.
speaking on camera and representing the city. But overall, I was just really happy with the work that they did. Ted Nelson, street superintendent, did a nice job of sort of rallying them and getting them ready for the weekend. And so my appreciation goes out to them and to City Council from last year. A lot of the reason that they were able to get done what they did was council's swift action in appropriating that money to buy those 3 ODOT trucks. If you recall, I think we had an estimate for one truck for $150,000 or something like that. And so the total original request was something like $450,000. Ted found 3 dump trucks at something like $5,000 each. Council moved very quickly, appropriated less than $30,000, I think. And because of that, 2 of the trucks were running this weekend. One broke down for a short period of time because of an issue with a hose, some hydraulic fluid leak. But other than that, I was actually down there today talking to the guys during lunch, and they were very appreciative of council's effort to get them the equipment that they needed, and I think the results speak for themselves. On that note, I have a committee assignment request drafted where I'm going to request of council an appropriation of $25,000 simply to be prepared to buy items that we might need as they come along at these auctions. It's not always easy to move as swiftly as we did, but we have lots of needs, and even though those trucks are something like 10 or 15 years old, they were light years in advance of what we have now. So just building some flexibility into our budget in getting those items that we might need. So that assignment will be coming. I'll touch on the brought forward ordinance. This is an annual ordinance that is essentially last year's appropriations, open purchase orders that were not expended, just need to be placed on the books for this year. Just so everybody knows, our carryover is calculated by taking the cash on hand, subtracting out the brought forward amount to get these are the encumbrances. And the auditor needs this number, so I would support Councilman Prohl's request to waive the 3-read rule. And again, thank you to the law director for moving this along so swiftly. The Majestic, but kudos to Councilwoman Neal, put together a packet over the past, 10 days, something like that, for a request to get really a big chunk of money, 1.5 million, I think was requested, is that right? Requested? Requested. So, from the state's biennial capital budget, and several people in the community pulled together, but Councilwoman Neal really led the charge, and I think drove the application to Columbus to get it in on time. Got us an extension and then drove it to Columbus. So there's just excitement continuing downtown. I think I'm hopeful with our chances to receive some funding for that project at the Majestic. Oh, what else? Oh, very exciting news. I have in my hand here your new email addresses. Your ChillicotheOH.gov email addresses. We have new domains. You each have your own email now. I'll hand these out afterwards, but for your own use. Horizon helped us pull that together very quickly, so we're moving right along. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Our auditor, Mr. Barrington.
Thank you, Mr. President. Of course, I don't have much to talk about. I've already said enough. But transition is still in progress. I find everything is very professional down in the basement. And I want the President to know that we use that whole basement of that whole building, Mr. Arnold. So the map you passed out at the last meeting, I passed it out in the basement. And we all had a little fun with that because the auditor's office has a lot of machines in addition to the people. We have robots and a lot of paper and storage, safes and cash and things like that.
Okay.
So we might have to petition you for more space, if and when that ever comes.
Yes.
Unless you're going to buy the Gazette
It's
building.
big.
I'm not trying to start a rumor. I do appreciate the mayor asking that we pass this brought forward purchase orders ordinance tonight, because it is the missing link to our final report that we have to put together with all the year-end stuff, which we have finished almost all those computations and calculations. We need this piece of the puzzle to plug in, and that will give us a report not only to council but to the county auditor, and then the county auditor to the state auditor. And there's a timeline on that. We have to get that done. So I would ask that you pass that as soon as you can, because we'll really see our financial picture. But some early signs indicate that the former auditor did a wonderful job. Looks like sales tax collections are up. Looks like we might have some good news on the carryover, but I'm not in a position right this moment to tell you what it is, but it's not looking bad. It's looking good. And thanks to Luke's hard work, fine staff he's honed, the help of Treasurer Auditor Spetnagel. Speaking of whom, I was real happy to get W-2 forms out today for all the city employees tomorrow, but found out that Mr. Spetnagel beat us by a day or two, so I just can't get ahead of that guy. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Barrington. And our law director, Mrs. Rutherford.
Thank you, President Arnold. I'd like to speak to what I guess is item 2 on the agenda, and that is the assignment out of HR. I only approved it to its form today. I understand the difficulty of attracting qualified candidates to fill positions. My office is definitely no exception there. My assistant law directors, by law, possess not only a bachelor's degree, but they also have a Juris Doctor. And I realize that our salaries can't compete with the private sector. And people seek employment within the public sector because they have a desire to serve the public good. Public employment made up for that disparity by providing better pension and insurance benefits. That may not be the case anymore. Unfortunately, last week I was out of town on a private, previously scheduled vacation, so my understanding of this legislation is gleaned from reading yesterday's Gazette. That report suggests that there are 2 positions left to fill. My questions are, will this windfall raise apply to all new hires only, or is it going to apply to all the department heads in general? How are we going to decide which department heads are going to reap that benefit? And how do we justify how much each department head receives with this raise? More importantly, is how is this going to affect the morale of those departments that don't receive raises? How will this affect departments that remain understaffed? Departments that have aging equipment and computers? But most importantly, is where else is this money going to come from? I've been sitting in this room for going on 5 years now, and I've heard nothing but doom and gloom. I've heard that our carryover doesn't amount to, our amounts continue to decline, and I've also listened to how our revenue doesn't keep up with our expenses. If council is determined to proceed with this legislation, I would urge you not to waive the 3-read rule. My understanding is that this just came out of last Thursday's committee meeting, and if you want to pass it this Thursday, that doesn't give the public a very long time to weigh in. And if they're like me, they're just finding out by reading the paper yesterday. So I would urge you to allow it to go to all 3 reads and allow the citizens of Chillicothe to weigh in on how you choose to spend their tax dollars. Thank you.
May I, President?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
So the proposal is for all employees to get raises. 2% in the first year, 1% in the second year. The discretion that I'm requesting is for department heads under my supervision to potentially get raises. The reason for all this was laid out in the committee assignment request, which you received, I think, 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. I'm not sure when exactly I sent it, but it wouldn't have been the first time yesterday in the paper. So, again, I'm happy to discuss this. I understand you're out of town for the committee meeting. I have no issue whatsoever for considering the employment of the individuals under your supervision. I'm not sure if you're saying they're underpaid or what that was, but they are receiving a 2% increase under this proposal.
Right. Well, I'm not saying that they're not unpaid. I'm just saying I understand. I have to hire people that have advanced degrees.
Sure.
I can't pay them what they're worth.
Right.
And the city can't pay them what they're worth. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's not realistic to say that we can do that. We're not the private sector.
Well, I'm also not proposing that these people be part-time employees either. I think that you know, a full-time employee making less than subordinates is a difficult thing when you're trying to attract good people and pay them not what they're worth, because we're going to pay under what they're worth, but just to be able to attract something, I don't want to say better, but that we can motivate with, I suppose. So, hopefully that answers some of your questions you might have, but it sounds like we'll have another meeting and discuss again.
If I may, President Arnold.
Absolutely.
Law Director, if you wouldn't mind, you have some valid issues and valid questions. And in order to drive the conversation, the dialogue that we have on Thursday, if I can get some of what you have, your concerns, in an email,
Sure.
I'd appreciate it. Thank you. That will assist in making sure that we fully address your concerns. Thank you.
Everybody? My report is a little light, lighthearted maybe. on your tables earlier, you'll notice that I gave everybody a calendar, which I had some requests for. It has most of the pertinent meetings. There's our doorbell. That has most of the pertinent meetings on there that should carry you through the year. If you have any questions, and those are scheduled dates for them. That doesn't mean that they are going to be. They may be canceled. I would check to make sure before you go to any of those meetings that they are actually going to happen. But that's what I have in my itinerary. If you see anything that's not correct, by all means, please let me know. I also put on your tables what I promised you with the Sunshine Opens meeting section for the new council people, and even kind of a reference with the refresher for the older council people. It might be good to look through. Both of those things can go into the notebook that I gave you earlier, and you can use that for your part of your library. Mr. Barrington, I still apologize publicly that I didn't get your sign to your table, but it is done. You'll be official next meeting. And if anybody noticed, they did put the marquee downstairs. All the appropriate names are in there, and that was I'd like to thank the city service department for doing that. Real briefly, I'm just going to kind of make a statement for everybody as council as a whole with the committee assignments that I deal out. I just want everybody to know that I consider us all as a group, and whatever our assignments are, whether it is in any committee or it doesn't matter, we're all, hopefully, and I encourage us all to participate in all the discussions that go on. Ultimately, when we're all done with this, everything's done as a group. It's not individual. It's not even a committee that makes all the final decisions here. It's all of us. By no means in any way here are we trying to take count, trying to get ahead of somebody else. I want us all to participate, and I hope we do. That's what it's all about. And I think you'll find that we'll get a lot more input, a lot more productivity, the more that we keep contributing. So you put in as much as you want, by all means. And that's all I have to report. So, did try to warm the place up for us, but I don't know, maybe the water issue might have something to do with that. At this point, we have audience participation. And we have a couple of names down. I have Mr. Williams. If you'd like to come up, please.
My name is Terry Williams, and I reside at 371 Flyways Lane. I just want to thank Councilwoman Patrick for delaying the reading of what appears on your agenda as number 1. Just some minor concerns from my perspective on that I'm really excited to be able to have input in, and I appreciate your welcoming that input. The main concern that I have to voice tonight is in regard to a council assignment 16-7. It's an assignment that went to a special committee meeting that I found out today already met about changing your meeting time. And it doesn't seem like a very large change, it doesn't seem like a very big issue, except that your meetings happen to conflict already with a meeting that happens on the other side of town, a meeting of the Chillicothe City School Board. That's kind of a concern because those of us who reside in the city have a vested interest in both of these public bodies. And the way that things currently stand, their meeting begins at 5:30 on the 4th Monday, and your meeting begins at 7:30, and it's really quite a crunch right now to even get over here in time. I just got in a few minutes before your meeting started, and their meeting was relatively short, just 2 action items today. Additionally, a concern for me in these minutes are just a conversation about Mayor Feeney indicating that it shouldn't be a problem for HR head to be able to be at the meeting, along with all of the other public employee heads, department heads. That's kind of a concern, I think, because I know your indication there was more a willingness conversation about it shouldn't be a problem for department heads to be present here. It does create a problem because your head of HR is also a member of that public body. Yeah, I don't know if she just got over here from her meeting, but they normally end their meeting with an executive session that can go a lot longer than your two did today. That's a concern for me, not only from a logistics perspective for that member, but also for members of the community. It would be really nice if we didn't have public body meetings competing for the same time frame. If you do move that position up by half an hour, you're going to further curtail public access to public body meetings. It would be really nice if you'd be able to move your meeting from the fourth Monday. That'd be fantastic. In the absence of that being an option, I think keeping it at 7:30 would really benefit me and a lot of the people. I know you're always interested to have people here and people participating. We'd like to participate. Please don't make that more difficult on us. I know it's a small change, but it's important to some of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Barnhart had signed in. I think he left during our executive session, so anybody else is more than willing to speak if you'd like to. Does anybody have anything they'd like to say or add? Not seeing that, we will move on. At this point, we have old business. Anybody have any old business they'd like to bring up? Mrs. Neal?
Thank you, President Arnold. I have one item. This is an assignment from 2015 that was assigned to city services. One of my favorite assignments for the year, 15104, pigeon control. And I did a lot of research about pigeon control in cities throughout the United States, cities throughout the world, and found that there's nothing very effective that's humane. The main methods are poison and alarms and chemicals that deter the pigeons. We had Cam Shipley here for a committee meeting, and he gave us a breakdown of some of the methods that he's tried over the years, and none of those have been effective. I did send him a little thing today that I saw in a poultry magazine that was pairs of pigeons that were being sold for $204 if they were registered. So I just sent him a little mail that said, you know, maybe we're going the wrong route and we could have your pigeons registered, but that's neither here or there. So anyway, I'm going to ask to take this out of committee. I think at this time there's nothing that council can do or should do about the pigeons. So I'd like to ask for 15104 to be taken out of
I'm making
committee.
that as a motion.
Motion to take it out of
I
committee.
have a motion from Mrs. Neal to take that out of committee, and seconded by Mr. Clay. Roll call on that motion.
Tatman,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Florina,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Clay,
Yeah.
Partee.
Yes.
And 15104 is now on committee.
Thank you.
Any other old business? Mrs. Gray?
I would just like to go on public record commending the service department for the work that they did over the weekend in clearing the snow, and the mayor for being decisive and being able to get that done very quickly. I think that it was noticed by all. There were a lot of people in the community who commented, and I think that that goes a long way with reestablishing public trust in what we're doing. And just again, saying thank you. Please extend that to the workers. We appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
Good job. Any other old business? Not seeing any. Do you have any petitions or correspondence?
Mr. President, I have nothing to report on tonight.
Okay. Any new business? Anybody would like to bring up? Yes, Mr. Carty.
I'll just, thank you, Mr. President. I'll just briefly mention we'll be having a special land bank committee meeting here tomorrow at 11 a.m. Jim Rokakis is coming down from Cleveland. In fact, he's already here, staying on East Main Street at the Holiday Inn. But he'll be coming down to give a presentation along with a number of county officials on the process of establishing a land bank. And the basic gist of the land bank is a legal way, mechanism to expedite the tax foreclosure process for abandoned vacant and tax delinquent properties. I know we have a handful of those in town. This would allow us to move those forward and get rid of some eyesores in certain neighborhoods. So that'll be at 11 a.m. here in council chambers tomorrow.
Josh, I'm not sure if we'll have the temperature situation resolved in here, so I can check to see if the administration building will be available if you'd like me to do that.
Thank you, that would be a good backup. Or I could,
Or transit.
everyone wear coats,
No, transit has a meeting tomorrow.
That's right.
I have the advisory.
wear coats. That's all I have to report, Mr. President.
Oh,
Any other new business? Yes, Mrs. Patrick?
speaking of heat, what do we need to do to get heat in here? This is the second meeting with no heat now.
Well, I don't know if the issue tonight's got anything to do with the water. Is this a boiler system?
I think it is.
And if it's a boiler system, then the water could definitely be an issue. Just briefly, I'll bring up that I was in here yesterday for 2.5 hours, and it was nice and warm, and I didn't have any problems. I actually kind of been waiting to see if anybody mentioned anything about seeing anything different when we walked in this evening. But I did spend 2.5 hours here yesterday. You can probably guess what I was doing. So, at any rate, hopefully the issue will be taken care of, okay? I have committee assignments and meeting dates. I don't have, I do have the utilities you mentioned on Thursday and a special meeting on Thursday. Do you have a time for that and a location?
Not yet, I think we'll know, I'll send out an announcement tomorrow
Okay, all right.
to get the 48 hours.
Otherwise, just from your calendars, Board of Zoning Appeals, Tuesday, January the 26th at 4 o'clock. First Capital meets at the Chamber Wednesday of this week, the 27th at 8:30 a.m. And Civil Service scheduled to meet Thursday, February the 4th at 9 a.m. Those are the only meetings I have down, other than the land bank that you mentioned, between now and our next meeting. At this point, we move on to legislation. Mr. Fossum.
Item 2 is first reading of an ordinance establishing rates of pay and other economic benefits for classified, non-classified, and management level employees of the city of Chillicothe, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Okay.
Item 3, first reading of an ordinance appropriating $1,418,523.57 for the purpose of continuing the handling of brought forward purchase orders from the year 2015 and other brought forward amounts to be put on the books of the city of Chillicothe, Ohio for the year ending December 31, 2016, and declaring emergency. First reading.
Mr. Kroll.
At this time, I'd like to ask that we please waive the 3-read rule.
I have a motion to waive the 3-read rule, seconded by Mr. Clay. Motion, roll call on that motion, please.
Tatman.
Yes.
Kroll.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Neal.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Florina.
Yes.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
Carteet.
Yes.
That motion is passed. Would you please move forward with the resolution or the ordinance?
Tatman.
Yes.
Kroll.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Neal.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Florina.
Yes.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
Carteet.
Yes.
And that ordinance has passed. Anything else anybody would like to add? If not, do we have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Florina, seconded by Mrs. Neal. Motion to adjourn?
Tatman.
Yes.
Kroll.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Neal. Gray.
Yes.
Florina.
Yes.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
Carteet.
Yes.
Don't leave without your envelope.
That'll be,
Just keep that on the calendar.
So if you gotta start
discussion.